Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review the movie Flags of Our Fathers. Now, I recently reviewed the nonfiction book that this film was based on, and prior to that by a month or so, I had reviewed Flyboys, which is another book written by the same author, James Bradley. Now, the book could in many ways be presented, if you were going to think about it as a film, as a documentary. It's pure information. It discusses the personal biographies of all 6 of the flag raisers that were on Mount Suribachi that day. It presents the events that led up to the flag raising, the battle after it, and of course the publicity tour that the 3 survivors went on, and their lives after the war. And I gotta tell you, if someone were to hand that proper to me, that book deal, and said, "Here, I want you to turn this into a movie," I might just be stymied. I mean, how do you take something that is functionally a documentary and turn it into a functioning narrative, conventional film? And Clint Eastwood has succeeded at that in this, but he's had to depart significantly from the book itself to achieve it. It goes without saying that huge swaths of this book are gone. They can't be in the movie. There's no way you could do it. And the story has to be massaged here and there have been fictional elements added to gloss over the fact that, this particular scene in the book was 4 pages, and we need to condense it into a 12-second scene. So in that regard, I think that if you've read the book first and you've seen the film like I have, there's going to be a disconnect to a certain extent, and your experience is going to be much different. I would be intrigued to see if I could have seen this film and then read the book and see how I would have reacted. But I'm never going to get to know that. I read the book first. No going back. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. Now, as a film, how does this movie go? Well, as a film, it functions. It tells the story of these 6 men that raised that flag and the events that took place around it. It doesn't go into as much depth. You don't even get as much information about John Bradley, the father of the author, as you do in the book. The book is essentially a love letter to his father. And in this, you definitely have the sense that he cares for his father, and that he's done all this research and everything to find out who his father was and what his father, the massive accomplishments he had actually achieved. I mean, the man won a Naval Cross. That's not something you do every day. They didn't shirk when it showed a lot of the brutality of war. I mean, there were massive torso wounds in this film. There were, decapitations. There was shrapnel and blood. It's not a glossed over war film, and I think Eastwood did that very deliberately. He wanted us to see the horrors that these men lived through. And there were certain things I think the movie did better. For example, Rainey Gagnon, which was one of the flag raisers, and was the one that was from the town I live, Manchester, New Hampshire. In the book, he didn't fare well because he wasn't well liked. He was a bit of a grandstander. He really wanted to ride his fame. The film humanizes him a little more. It doesn't necessarily downplay the fact that he wanted the fame to bring him forward, and it didn't. But it also, I think, sets up the relationship he had in his life with his wife, and there isn't any way pleasantly to say this, and I apologize if the woman is alive today and that she finds this insulting, because I think she may be. I know her son is still alive. She comes across as a harpy. She wants so desperately to ride the coattails of her husband's fame. And when, of course, that fame peters out, the results are not pleasant. And then, while they didn't go into a lot of details of the life after the war for Rainey, you really got the impression. The actress did an excellent job of conveying to the viewer that Rainey was not the captain of his own ship, and that he was stuck in a boat with someone that really was willing to manipulate and use him. So I think that the film did certain things better than the book did. But the book, of course, was so much more informative. It showed so much more depth than the film ever could. I really recommend you take in both. I think you might want to see the movie first. It's going to give you a good overview, and it's going to give you a real textural feel for things in a way that the book is going to take a lot more time to achieve. Now, the one thing I've taken away from both the book and the movie is that we as a nation failed our veterans miserably in the fact that they did not get the treatment and the help after the war that they so justly deserved. Maybe it was a sign of the times that men were supposed to be men. You were supposed to shirk these things off and move forward. But these men were hurt, wounded human beings, and we didn't help them. And our nation paid the cost in lives and in sorrow. But I definitely, Eastwood did an excellent job with this film. I highly recommend it. And for all the veterans out there, of all the wars who are still alive, thank you for your service.